Right there on the floor, Gigi.
Where are you going in such a hurry, boy?
Not even a slight bit of mild nudity.
Hey everybody, this is John Schneider.
We are the Gravlax brothers from the planet Fuckleton.
Hey, this is Butch Patrick from the Munsters.
I'm gonna put you out of the jail and throw away a key.
Make it a great day.
Because you deserve it.
Yes, you do.
You deserve it.
You deserve a great day.
Gracias. Jumbo, everyone, and welcome to Kilimanjaro Safari. Before you begin your trip, you should know that the unpaved roads of the Harappe Wildlife Reserve pass through rough and rugged terrain. You may experience bumps and sudden jolts on your safari adventure. Jumbo, everyone, and welcome to Kilimanjaro Safari. Before you begin your trip, you should know that the unpaved roads of the Harappe Wildlife Reserve pass through rough and rugged terrain. You may experience bumps and sudden jolts.
Welcome on board. Alright, if you're sitting on the right side, watch your hands, arms, feet, and legs. Doors are going to be sliding closed. Sana, warden, that means thank you because the warden gave us the all clear. So we are going to twin day, which means let's go. Jumbo, everyone, my name is Sabrina. I'm going to be your safari guide out here on the Harappe Wildlife Reserve today. And just a couple of safety reminders for you before we head on out here. Make sure we are staying fully seated at all times, keeping all hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the safari truck. That means no seat swapping, no lifting any little ones up in the air, no standing up, just staying seated the whole safari. Because these roads are pretty rough and pretty bumpy, so it can get a little wild out here sometimes. So speaking of that, make sure you hang on to any personal devices like phones and cameras pretty tightly, because if anything falls from the truck, we won't be able to stop and retrieve it. We will have to let it go. But while we are hanging out here waiting our turn to head into the reserve, if you take a look above your head, you'll find an animal spotting guide up there. Now, I can't guarantee we'll find every single animal that's on that guide, but we usually have pretty good luck. And I'll do my best to point out as many animals that I find for you while we're out here on the reserve today. But this first section of the reserve we're going to enter is going to be called the Little Aturi Forest. It's going to be home to a few of our more shy and reclusive members of our safari. So these are going to be forest animals, and forest animals tend to like to hide in the thick underbrush of the forest. So they can be a little trickier to see sometimes. But on your right, we are going to get to find an okapi over here. It's going to be a little bit lower down by the water in that big bunch of bamboo. Now, okapis were discovered by Westerners till 1901. But there are depictions of them going back to ancient Egypt, so we know they've been around for quite some time. However, they're just really good at hiding, really hard to find, so we still don't really know how many of them there are in the wild to this day. But one thing we do know, after much research, is that the okapi is going to be a relative of the giraffe, not the zebra like you would think. Both okapis and giraffes have very similar bone and skull structures. They both have 7 vertebrae in their neck, and they both have something called a prehensile tongue, meaning their tongues will be long and finger-like, helping them grab leaves off bushes and trees to eat. But coming up on your right, on the top of the hill, this is a saddle-billed stork. They get their name from the yellow saddle-shaped shield on their beaks. Now they can stand at heights of up to 5 feet tall with wingspans of about 9 feet, which will be around as wide as this canopy above our heads right now. But over on this hillside to our left, we're going to have a black rhino hanging out. So black rhinos can weigh up to 3,000 pounds, and they can charge at speeds of 35 miles an hour. But they are known for being solitary rhinos, so they don't really like other animals, including other rhinos. They do prefer to hang out by themselves. Now there is a small exception to that. They do have a symbiotic relationship with a bird called a red-billed oxpecker. Now symbiotic just means they both benefit. So that red-billed oxpecker sits on the rhino's back, eating bugs off of it for it, and in return, it's going to let out a warning cry if it senses danger coming nearby to let the rhino know. On your left, up there on the top of the hill, that is the world's largest forest antelope. It's called a bongo, also nicknamed the ghost of the forest because they are rarely seen out in the wild. And then a little bit lower down by the bushes, that's a greater kudu, the world's 2nd largest forest antelope. But both the bongo and the greater kudu, they have white stripes on their backs and sides. Now that is actually a camouflage technique to imitate sunlight streaming through the brush of the forest. It helps hide them from predators. But we're going to leave the Little Ituri Forest now. We're going to make our way down to the Safi River region. Now rivers like our Safi River up here, very important to the ecosystem of Africa since they have a dry season every year, which is a period of time that can last anywhere from a few weeks to a few months where they won't get rain. So during that time, animals have to migrate or move around to find water to drink. This is going to be the first place they look. And on your right, we got a bunch of pelicans out here. These are a freshwater pelican species called pink-backed pelicans because their backs turn a pink color during mating season. Now they live in large colonies. They can get up to 500 pelicans in them, hanging around the rivers and lakes in Africa. But on your left over here, we got some hippos hanging out. So hippos are going to live in groups called bloats. Now bloats are around 10 to 15 hippos on average, but they have been known to reach up to 100 in one group in rare occasions. But no matter how many hippos are in the group, there's only going to be one in charge. They determine who that'll be through a fight of dominancy. But you'll notice right now they're kind of sleeping. That's because hippos are known for being nocturnal animals, so they sleep in the daytime. Usually when they do sleep, it's going to be in the water because they can hold their breath up to 8 minutes at a time, even while asleep. And then at nighttime, they'll come up on shore on riverbanks, walking around looking for vegetation to eat because they're going to have to eat around 100 pounds of vegetation every single night. So just like the game says, they are in fact going to be hungry hippos. Looks like we got a couple on our left looking for some midnight snacks in their case. But they do share the rivers they live in with crocodiles, like the Nile crocodiles to your left. So these crocodiles can grow about as long as a giraffe is tall. They can get up to 18 feet long and weigh over 500 pounds, which will make them the world's largest freshwater crocodile. But they do have one of the strongest bite forces of any animal in the entire animal kingdom, because their bite is going to be strong enough to crush the bones of their prey. But speaking of their prey, those crocodiles, they only eat about one meal a week, but that one meal will be about half their body weight. And during the dry season, when food becomes harder for them to find, they can enter a hibernation-like state, going months without eating. But a group of crocodiles is going to have two names. So if the group is in the water, it's going to be called a float because they are floating around so that they can cool off. While a group of crocodiles on land is known as a bask because they're going to lay there basking in the sun so that they can warm up. But we just left the Safi River. We're now going to make our way down to the savannah next. Really quick, take a look to your right. There is kind of a funny looking tree over here. This is called a baobab tree. It's also known as the upside down tree because it looks like someone planted it upside down with its roots sticking out. And that's going to be a natural look for those trees because they go leafless up to 9 months out of the year out in Africa. It's a great way for them to conserve water for the dry season that they then store in that large tree trunk they have. Their trunks can hold thousands of gallons of water every year, which will come in handy for two animals in particular. Those are going to be warthogs and elephants, since both of those animals have pairs of tusks that they can use to eat the bark off that tree to get to the water stored inside. And they'll do that if they can't find any easy accessible water. But we have now reached the savannah, and coming up on your right, you're going to see a Maasai giraffe hanging out over here. So these giraffes, when they are born, they're going to be about 5 to 6 feet tall. But by the time they're fully grown, they'll be about 18 to 20 feet tall. And they are a very social animal species, so giraffes like to hang out in groups with one another. And a group of giraffes will be known as a tower, because they're going to tower over everyone and everything that'll be out here on the savannah. But their favorite hobby is eating. In fact, they spend almost the entire day eating or just looking for something to eat. They will only sleep for about 30 minutes out of the entire day. And it won't even be all at once either, just little naps a couple minutes at a time throughout the entire day. Now coming up on our left out here, we're going to have some sable antelope. Now their horns are going to grow curved backwards to sharp points. It helps keep predators from jumping on their backs because they're not afraid of predators. When they see one come around, they'll go right up to it, trying to fight it away from everybody. So they're kind of like the bodyguards of the savannah. Other animals like to have them around for that. But also on your left over here, we do have a group of wildebeest. Now, they're in a kind of a small group right now, but during their annual migration, their groups can get up to 1.5 million wildebeest in them. That does make them the second densest grouping of an animal on Earth, just behind us, behind humans. But since they are in those very large groups, that means they have to find a lot of water for everyone. Something that helps them out with that, gives them a little advantage or extra time, is the fact that a wildebeest is capable of going about 5 full days without any water. So it does just give them a little leeway, a little bit extra time to find enough water for a group that size. But if one of those wildebeest got separated from the big group somehow, they're going to be easily able to find them again. Because wildebeest will carry scent glands in their hoofs, which means everywhere they go, every step they take, they leave their scent. So if one gets separated from them, they'll easily just be able to smell them back out again. But coming up on our right, we're going to have a group of zebras, or a dazzle, is what a group of zebras is called. And the biggest question I always get, are they black with white stripes or white with black stripes? Well, scientists determine you find the answer by looking at their nose. So you're going to notice these zebras out here have black noses, which will make them black with white stripes. But there are 3 different zebra species in Africa. The ones you're looking at on your right over here, these are called Hartsman mountain zebras. And just like the name suggests, they do actually live in the mountain regions. They prefer it up there where it's a bit colder. They have a little extra flap of skin on their neck called a dewlap, helps regulate their body temperature for them, allowing them to live in both those cold mountains as well as the hot savanna. And they'll be the only zebras that have that and can do that. Also coming up on your right, on this hillside out here, got some small brown antelope scattered around. These are called springbok. They're one of the world's smallest antelope species. Their name's going to come from their ability to spring up in the air about 6 to 8 feet. And when they run, they can leap forward in bounds of up to 13 feet. But in addition to being good at jumping, leaping, springing, they're also very fast. So those little springbok, they're going to be able to run up to 60 miles an hour. So they can outrun those predators because they're going to have a little bit more stamina. They keep up those high speeds longer than predators who try to chase them can. But it looks like coming up ahead here, we got a bunch of trees knocked down. So that's going to be a pretty good sign or indication we might be about to find some elephants up ahead. Elephants are known as the bulldozers of the savannah, so they are going to bulldoze and knock down trees and bushes and anything that's going to get in their way. So if they don't have a path for themselves, they are certainly going to make one. So it looks like elephant knocked all these trees over, and I think up ahead on our right, we're going to see an elephant over here. So on your right is going to be an elephant, but also over here on your left, we do have a couple of mandrills out here hanging on the rocks under these trees. So mandrills are Rafiki from The Lion King. They're known for their bright red and blue faces that get brighter the more excited that they get. So you have an elephant on the right, you got these mandrills over here to your left. Now you can see there's a larger male sitting on the rocks than those other ones over there, the smaller ones, those are the females. So there's a big size difference in the mandrills, but they live in groups called troops. But up ahead here, I think we're going to get another look at that elephant, maybe even a better look. So if you take a look over here on your right, should be a little clearing, and we can see that elephant hanging out over here. So African elephants, easy way to tell if it's an African elephant is by looking at their ears. African elephants will have ears that are going to be shaped like the continent of Africa, whereas other elephants will have more of a triangle shape to their ear. But that African elephant is also going to be the world's largest land animal. So the females weigh around 9,000 pounds, while the males can get up to 14,000 pounds. But both males and females are going to have a pair of white teeth that will grow outside their mouth called tusks. Elephants are going to use their tusks to dig up tree roots to eat, strip the bark off trees to eat, defend themselves from predators, and also to be able to spar with one another, especially the males during mating season. One other useful thing they use their tusks for, though, we're going to drive through some red clay pits up ahead here, and these elephants have to eat this red clay. It's got essential vitamins and minerals in it they need for their diet. So to eat it, they'll use their tusks to scrape it off these walls, break it off in pieces that they can then pick up to eat. So if you take a look on your right over here, there's actually going to be some tusk marks in that clay, so you can see where they have been eating away at it. But elephants elephants will live in groups called herds that are going to be comprised of females with their babies. Once male elephants reach the age range of about 12 to 15 years old, that's when they're going to start to leave the herd, go live out on their own. Now, they might form small all-male herds, which are called bachelor herds, but for the most part, male elephants, they do prefer the solitary lifestyle. Meanwhile, the female herds of elephants are going to be led by one female, who will typically be the oldest and wisest in the group, and she's going to be known as the matriarch. So back there, we did get to see a male, going to be a little larger in size than females we would find, but also, just because it was hanging out by itself, you'll never see females really out on their own. But I think up ahead here on the left, we might get to find that female herd. So a couple more cool things about elephants. Elephants are going to use their trunks like hands to pick up any food they want to eat, as well as any water they want to drink. So their trunks are what we call prehensile or finger-like. Something else they pick up using their trunks is going to be dirt and mud, because elephants, they have very delicate and sensitive skin. They can actually get sunburned just like we do. So in order for them to protect their skin from the sun, they use their trunks to pick up dirt and mud, throwing it on their backs and their sides, so it can act like that sunblock for them. It'll also cool them off and keep bugs off of them. So you can see there's one right here using its trunk to drink some water. And then you can see that baby elephant with her mom hanging out over there. So she just turned a year old about a month ago. But when baby elephants are born, they're going to be about 2 to 3 feet tall and weigh between 200 and 300 pounds. But they are going to be born after the world's longest pregnancy. So these elephants are going to be pregnant for about 22 months, so almost 2 full years. But you can see both those elephants, one using its trunk to pick up water, one using its trunk to pick up that food it's eating. But over here on our left, we're going to have some greater flamingos. So these are the world's largest and tallest flamingo species, but they are also the lightest pink-colored flamingo. And in fact, they won't be pink when they're born. They're going to be gray, white, and very fluffy. It'll take them about 1 to 2 years before they're going to turn pink, because that pink color comes from their diet. So they're going to eat something called brine shrimp, and brine shrimp is high in a mineral known as beta-carotene. And beta-carotene is what gives them that pink color. But a group of flamingos is going to be known as a flamboyance. And I know a lot of people always want to know, why do they stand on one leg? Well, they live and stand always in the water, so their feet get cold. So in order to warm it up, they'll lift one leg up at a time, tuck it into their body so they can warm it up, and then they'll swap it out with the other leg. But if you look over to your left, speaking of birds, we do have an ostrich walking around over there. So ostriches are the world's largest and tallest birds. They'll stand around 9 feet tall. They do have wings, but they're actually flightless birds. They can't fly because their wings are just not quite large enough or strong enough, but they have learned to use them while they run to keep their balance and help them change direction quickly. Down to your right, we got a couple of white rhinos hanging out over there. So white rhinos are not actually white. Their name comes from the Afrikaan word vite for wide, for their wide mouth. Westerners misheard them, thought they said white. That is how they got the name white rhino. So they are going to be the world's largest rhino species, weighing over 5,000 pounds, which is about 2,000 pounds larger than that black rhino we got to see earlier back in the forest. But we'll hopefully get another look at the rhinos, because coming up ahead on our left, we do have a cheetah out here. So if you look up, straight up that hillside, just above that log there, there's a cheetah laying down. You can see its head sticking up there. Now, cheetahs are the world's fastest land animal, going to reach speeds of over 60 miles an hour in just 2 to 3 seconds. But they can't maintain those speeds very long, only a quick short burst that can last the length of about 1 to 2 football fields. And they'll be one of the only cat species that prefers to do most of their hunting during the daytime, because cheetahs are going to have very poor night vision for a cat. It's only going to be about as good as ours is. And even though cheetahs are big and they are cats, they will not be classified as big cats because they can't roar. When they want to communicate with one another, they're going to make a high-pitched chirping noise, or they're going to meow and purr just like a house cat does. But they're going to live individually on their own or in small groups. And these groups of cheetahs are called coalitions. But speaking of big cats, we're going to have a couple up here on our left, which are going to be Simbas, or lions. So if you look right here on this ledge, you can see a female lioness laying down right there. Now, lions are actually going to sleep for most of the day. They'll sleep about 16 to 20 hours out of the day, being a lot more active at nighttime, which is when lions will do most of their hunting, because their night vision is about 6 times better than ours. But the female lions are going to be the hunters. They hunt in groups, while the males will stay back to guard their territory and protect the cubs, while the females are not. On your right, you're going to get another look at the white rhinos, so if you didn't see them earlier, you can see them now. Now, they're actually the world's only social rhinos, so these are the only rhinos that'll ever hang out with one another in groups. These groups are going to be called crashes, and they stay on the smaller size, only about 10 to 15 rhinos per crash. If you look to your left, look through the bushes above that first hole. There's a couple of warthogs laying down over there, or pumbas. So look through there. There's also one that popped up over there, right by that tree. So pumbaa is a Swahili word for warthog. It does not mean warthog. It means silly or foolish one. And they are burrowing animals. So these holes or burrows in the ground on our left, that's their homes that they're going to dig out. They'll use their little feet and their tusks. Dig out those burrows, and then they'll back into them so their tusks can face outwards, protect them from predators that might poke their heads in their burrows. But it looks like over here on our right, if you look by the dirt path, there's a couple of ostrich eggs in the grass over there. So each of those eggs is going to weigh about 3 pounds. One ostrich egg would be equivalent to about 2 dozen chicken eggs. But the shell of an ostrich egg will be so thick and so strong you could stand on one and it would not crack. But we're going to head on out of the savannah now. We're going to enter a section of the reserve called the Magadi Glen, which is going to be home to our warden's post. And up here at our warden's post, we're going to find some Nigerian dwarf goats, which are going to be a little bit of a smaller goat species, not quite as big as other goats you've probably seen before. But what they're going to lack in their size, they'll make up for with their very big personalities, because they're going to be very friendly, very playful. They like to headbutt each other, because why not? They'll have a great sense of balance to make them very good climbers. And out in Africa, they're going to have a mutually beneficial relationship with the farmers. They'll provide farmers and their families with milk, while in return, farmers are going to protect these goats and set aside land for them to live on. But sadly, these gates we're about to pass through are going to mark the end of the reserve, so I'm going to be taking us back to the village now. If there were any animals today we weren't able to see that you wanted to see, or if you just want to take another safari with us, I do like to highly recommend it, since no 2 safaris are ever going to be the same. We never know who or what we'll find out there, or what they might be doing when we find them. So if you're hanging around the park today and want to come back, feel free. We do close a little bit earlier than other attractions. I believe we close at 5, but as long as you are in line by 5, we'll get you on another safari. But if you'd like to continue your animal adventure while you're out here in Africa, we do have a walking trail next door once you get off the truck. It's going to be called the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to walk, but they do have some really cool animals we don't have here on the reserve, like monkeys, gorillas, meerkats, naked mole rats, reptiles, a bird sanctuary, also an underwater viewing area you can see a hippo at. And if you're adventurous, you can head on over to Asia. They have a walking trail as well, called the Mahara Jungle Trek. But they're going to have Asian animals, like water buffalo, Komodo dragons, bats, and tigers. Both trails really cool, got some cool animals down both of them, as well as some more badges for wilderness explorers to earn. But sadly, our time together is coming to an end. However, out here on the safari, we don't like to say goodbye. It's far too sad and far too final. So we do have a Swahili phrase we're going to use instead, which is going to be Kwaherini, means to go well. So if y'all had fun out here with me today, my name is Sabrina. Kwaherini, go well and go wild out there today.